Hi everyone, thank you for joining me today. My name is Lisa, owner and creator of Gypsy Woman Charm, and today we're going to be creating two items with using the Sweet Germain transfer and the Flora and Vine stamp, and it's turned out amazing. So you guys stick with me. If you're not subscribed to my channel, please subscribe and click the bell to be notified every time I put up a new video, and it helps support me so I can keep making videos. And guys, if you have want any of the items that I've used in this video, please come and see me on gypsywomancharm.net, and you can find all the items there. All right guys, let's get started. Project 1. So for my first project, I'm taking a book that I got from the Goodwill bins. So I saved it from the landfill. And then I'm taking Arcadia Pear and Cathedral Taupe, which are both fusion mineral paint colors. And I'm kind of trying to do a little bit of a marble effect. I want both colors to show through. I want to make sure that all of the hardcover is painted, because when it's closed and we finish it, I don't want any white to show through or any color of the book to show through. I'm going to take and again merge the two colors and paint the outside edges of the page, of the white pages. I want to make it look, it's already an old book, but I want to make it look even older. And so I'm just carrying the colors on into the outside of the edges of the papers. So I want to go with a multimedia concept on this book, and I had some Palm Velvet Fusion Milk paint that was made up for another project. So I thought, well, I'm going to take it, and I'm just kind of willy-nilly just putting little blotches of the paint on the book. So I want it to look like, again, it's going to look old, and it's going to look like it has, you know, been through it. So now I'm taking some texture medium, and I'm just, again, just splotting it, and I'm not really using any rhyme or reason. I'm just going with the feel. So after I get through with the texture medium, we're going to let everything dry for a few hours, because you want that medium to be nice and dry so that when you go on to the next step, it stays intact. So next I am taking the new summer release stamp, Flora and Vine, which is a beautiful, beautiful stamp. Now first what I'm doing is I'm cutting me a piece of thin mount that is the size of the book. That will help me know where exactly to put the stamp and how it's going to configure on the book. Now next I need to prepare the new stamp. So I'm taking 220 grit sandpaper and I'm just lightly going over it. You don't want to overdo it. You just want to hit the top of those stamps just to loosen up all those details. Then you want to make sure you wipe it all down to make sure that there's no dust on it before you use it. So I'm going with the first curved piece that is just a beautiful floral and vines, and I'm looking to see how it's going to fit onto the book itself. So I decide to go with IOD ink Stone Gray. I'm just freshening up the ink pad. Now remember, when you store these ink pads, you always want to store them upside down, so you always have the ink to the top of the pad. Just cleaning up the ink on the sides, because guys, I am a messy crafter. I will confess that. I love doing it, but I am a messy crafter. So now you take the ink pad and you just apply it to the stamp. So, and then I decide, and I love this stone gray because you'll see once we get it on the book that it looks kind of silver, and it just gives it, see, it turns out once it's drying, it dries silver, and it's just beautiful. Now once this ink dries, it is permanent ink, so you don't have to worry about it washing off or wiping off. Now you always want to wash off your stamps after you use it. I usually use baby wipes or wet wipes, but I was out, so I just took my mister and sprayed water on it, and then took a cotton cloth and wiped it off. But you don't want ink buildup, because then you'll start losing your detailing. And when you do your stamp onto your project, the way you want to put it on so it doesn't slip, you want to lay it on first, and you want to hold it with one hand and then take the other hand and just rub on top of the stamp itself. And you can really tell as the ink dries how that stone gray is starting to look a little silver. And I just love it, especially against those other colors. So then I decided I wanted to put a piece of the stamps on the binding of the book. And so I take and I get one of the long trimming type of stamp off of the Flora and Vine. So next I want to seal everything with the Sweet Pickins top coat. I always use the top coat in the matte because it goes better with my crafting design. But we want to seal it because I want to go over it with some brown wax, and I want to be able to control that brown wax so it doesn't get in a spot I don't want it to. So I let that top coat dry really well. It only takes a couple of hours. And now I am going over it with the brown wax to just age it even more. And it'll pick up that texture medium, that wax will. And so it'll hit the tops of that texture medium. And that's why we put that texture medium on there, was just to give it some more character. So I'm rubbing on the brown wax, and then I'm going to come back with the clear wax and go back over it with clear wax just to soften it down a little bit. We're going to put some little feet because we want to make this book into like a little riser. So I had these feet, and again, I picked them up somewhere. I'm not sure where I got them. My husband's always ordering stuff too and then giving it to me so for his projects, so there's no telling where I got them. But you can get them anywhere. You can get them off of Amazon. You can get them at the craft store. You can find little feet everywhere. So I'm putting them where I want them to go, and then what I'm going to do is I'm going to use glue on them first, and then I will come back and use the screws that came with them and screw them into the book. So first you can see I'm taking just a little bit of glue and paintbrushing it on to the bottom of the feet, and then I'm just setting them in place. And so as you can see, as I get more into it, I kind of play with it and have to move the feet around a little bit so that when I screw it in, the screws actually go into the book. And stuff, I know one screw I put in and it missed the pages completely, so I had to take it out, move it around, and redo it. project 2. So for my second project, I've took a metal little Caddy tin and I am painting it with Fusion Mineral Paint in the color Ash. Love this color for a base. It's not black and it's not gray. It's just kind of a soft color for a dark color. But I want to put a base on it because we're going to put the Fusion Milk Paint over the top of it. I ended up doing 2 coats of the ash. So next I'm taking the Fusion Milk Paint in the color Velvet Palm. Love this color. I put 2 scoops of the powdered in there and then 2 scoops of water. And then I'm fixing to take my fork that I always use to stir up the milk paint and we'll stir it up really good, and then I'm going to let it sit for about 15 minutes. Now I want this tin to look like it's been sitting out in the weather. So I'm not going with a real full coverage of the milk paint. I'm only doing 1 coat. I'm making sure that it looks good on there, but I'm not worried about brush marks. I'm not worried about full coverage or anything like that because I want it to have that texture and that I've been outside for months look. So now that everything is dry, I'm going to use the new Saint Germain transfer, and I'm picking out this beautiful bunch of flowers that have yellow and blue and pink, and I just think it's just a beautiful bunch of flowers. So now I'm measuring how I want it to go before I start putting it on there. I've got a little bit of overlap on the bottom, so I'm going to cut that overlap away, and then I'm going to set it back on it, and you'll notice that I've got the handle in the way. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to take and I am cutting just a slit right there so it'll go around that handle, and then now that I know where it's going, I can take the backing off and start working on placing the transfer down. Now you'll notice I didn't do any sanding before I put the transfer on. Number one, I didn't want dust to get underneath that transfer because it will not stick if that happens. Plus, I want to distress the transfer with the tote itself. So you don't want to have the transfer look brand new over a distressed item. So you'll see here in a second that how I go about distressing everything. So you'll see how beautiful those colors go with the velvet palm milk paint color. I just think it goes so great. So now we're going to burnish it, make sure it's on there real well before we start sanding and distressing. So now I'm going to take 220 grit sandpaper on my finger sander. I use 220 a lot. The 220 grit is my go-to. It's not too heavy. So I'm taking and I'm just going to start distressing the milk paint. I'm getting all the little chippies off of the milk paint, and I'm distressing the transfer itself. You don't want to really do it hard, but just enough to give it a look of that it's the same age as the tin itself. So I'm wiping the piece down really good to get any dust or anything off of it, because I want to put my top coat on and I need it dust-free to put my top coat on. So I'm using my Sweet Pickins top coat, and it's in the matte, and I'm just going to give it a good coat of the Sweet Pickins. I end up using what's in the little container, and then I end up doing a second coat over that one just to be sure that it's covered real well and protected. I just love the way this turned out. I'm absolutely in love with this tin. Thank you so much for joining me today. Please visit me at gypsywomancharm.net, and I hope you have a very blessed day.